I'm Clay Culberson here with lordsofconsciousness.com, and today I am joined by a very cool, amazing lady that I met this morning doing the opening ceremony here at Unify Fest in Santa Fe, New Mexico, Michele Rozbitsky, and I had to get her card because that name is not easy to say. So, Michele, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. I am so in gratitude for being here at this festival because it's part of the vision that was given to me years ago, but especially in Hawaii of this year. In February, when I did a retreat on the Big Island and worked with the volcano and a what do we want to call her? Ancient Lemurian priestess who's from Hawaii, and the dolphins and the whales. We started seeing, the group I was with, but we started seeing a lot of rainbows in the visions. And we went to the petroglyphs, which are really ancient and also speak of creation energies. And we're really hearing the message about the new creation energies. You know, that volcano is constantly creating new life, right? Mm-hmm. New islands, new energy, but its energy is different now. It's on a path of the old being brought together, but rebirthing. And so I brought some sacred energies along with initiating with this Kumu, this teacher, to land in Pecos, to build like this rainbow bridge to Santa Fe, because Santa Fe has always been a place where many people have met. And it's also a place where the doorways to higher consciousness have been open. So those of us who work here as shamans and healers it's called the land of transformation. It's constantly transforming and healing people and energy. At the beginning of Unify Fest, the first few days, the wind, the lightning, the rain were just clearing through like crazy, blowing, changing us, helping us let go of that which didn't serve. Today, when I woke up, I felt it's a whole nother day today. And when leading that ceremony, another rainbow appeared, and it was like, now's time for us all to come together in a greater way.
And you could really feel it. I mean, you led this most amazing ceremony of, I mean, talk about the word unify, what you shared in that ceremony. Basically, just showing us that, you know, there's no difference between either of us. You know, I am you and you are me. All of the peoples of this world are coming together as one, you know, and still with their beautiful colors, you know, from all the different lands in which they you know, reside in, and that have helped form them. And you know, you spoke so eloquently to that in that ceremony. What is it about this time period, this particular time period on planet Earth, 2016? Why is this such a big deal? Why? I mean, people are hearing about it. This, you know, this momentum of oneness and whatever you want to call it, unity. You know, global unity. Why is it so important right now, specifically? And that's obviously a long you could go on for days and days.
I could go on for years and years.
There's many books written
yes,
about
I've written something about it, but really what happened in 2012 was the epicenter of the birthing of a new earth, a new era, the fifth world, new paradigm, whatever you want to call it. But what was said, as much as any of us will know anything, is that it would take to 2016 for us to clear enough on the other side of that. That was like the epicenter to really start the awakening. If enough people had done their personal work, their shadow work, and come to more unity inside themselves, because that's where it starts, then we would be able to start opening up to this energy, which, you know, as cosmic as it sounds, it's a real thing, this alignment with the galactic center. It's like a rebirthing place for this planet. Even a friend of mine who knows scientists say they've been seeing a light since 2012 coming from the center of the Milky Way to our planet. So this time of awakening, it's like the tree of life is reconnecting, where we were learning, you know, through separation, and we were learning through us and them and the difference. Now it's time to bring all that learning back together. So the energies, we've done, enough of us have done the work to come together at this time, to remember our original purpose and being separated. So we could then learn what all those different teachings, cultures, colors, indigenous ceremony, how to work with the land, being one with her, all that can come back again, but in a whole new way. Because when you weave together the many, then everything changes. It's like the lights go on in a whole different way. Because you see what's happening on the planet right now. The forces that developed out of learning through separation are fighting back because they're afraid of annihilation, that their power games, the greed, ownership of lands that aren't anybody's, all that will have to stop. But the only way is not to fight it, not to use it as like the enemy, but to remember how we're all the same, like to build a web of alignment. And today's ceremony was a way to start doing that. Every time I do a ceremony is another way to bring people to remember what our original natures are, which is unity. That's how it works.
Bringing us back together as one, huh?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, we all came from the center of creation, no? Yeah. Whatever your concept of God, goddess, all that is. Yeah. We all have that in our cellular memory. We have that inside our hearts. Yeah. And we've just forgotten because we've been learning so much about like the differences and what I like, what I don't like. And now it's like I can still discern what works for me, what doesn't. I'm an individuated being, but I'm also part of a collective. And I can honor someone's traditions, the many traditions, and find the truth in each one. When we gathered last night in a fire ceremony, I honored 13 sacred nations and had offerings for each one. And people came forth who felt a connection in their ancestry, past lives, or just because they were called, and did offerings. And we also asked for the clearing of all nations of the troubles that they've had in really remembering who they are.
In this time where many people have been victimized by this power, this control that's been inflicted on this planet, how do the people who have been victimized by this transition into moving past it, into getting out of that victimization role into what you're saying is this oneness? Like sometimes it's hard to see yourself as one with the perpetrator in a sense. How do we do that?
Well, I'm a shamanic practitioner, ceremonialist, author, apprenticeships, on and on and on, but really what I've learned is each nation has their own ways. Each culture has their own ways, but it's always back to doing your own healing work, your own forgiveness, you're reclaiming, because when you have trauma, a part of you splits or goes underground. And so in a reclaiming of those soul parts, which is a very traditional way of shamanism, is doing soul retrievals. I've probably done thousands of them by this point. You bring it back and you heal those places where you've been wounded and forgive that person in a ceremony, in a healing session, whatever it is. And then you bring that part back and also can ask for forgiveness of the other person. But that healing energy that comes from spirit that we call in, it's like the balm of compassion. Realizing we've all, on our many lifetimes here, been perpetrators, victims, and now it's time to get off the wheel of that.
The famous wheel.
The karmic wheel of we've learning now our consequences of our actions.
Yeah.
So,
can you explain what the karmic wheel is for anyone who maybe has heard of it but doesn't really understand what it means?
In my knowing, we all have our particular version, is that in order to learn through separation and the tree of knowledge, we chose that. To be better co-creators of reality, so we had to begin from the beginning. And so what we do with that is there's laws that were put in place so we wouldn't just totally annihilate each other in all of creation, right? So we had to see the cause and effect of our actions. Those were universal laws put in place. So when we did something against those laws, then there'd be a karmic playback in this life or others. But this time, this era we've been in is about immediate. It's like as you do things that are against the laws of nature and of spirit, then they come back pretty quickly. Because to move out of that wheel of karma, where you keep creating the same scenarios again and again and again, you have to get off the wheel. And that's coming to that center, that place of forgiveness and knowing I'm not going to be on that anymore. I'm going to pay attention to the universal laws.
What would you say to someone who is pessimistic about where we are going as a species? You know, people who feel like maybe we've gone too far, environmentally speaking, in terms of the destruction that we've caused on this planet, or even just in terms of, you know, people who are tapping into what media is putting out there. A lot of them do have a real grim and bleak view of the future of this planet. What would you say to them?
People all the time come to me, or I hear them, and so I say many things. And one of them is that negative force that doesn't want to change because it's had a power play for a long time will make the scenario even look worse than it is. So to remember that. And also the rest is that one person at a time, changing is what matters. And then it's that 100th monkey, and it increases and increases. It becomes a wave. And already we've passed that 144 original, 100 souls, the original souls that want evolution and are here to believe in that change. We've already passed that. So now the 100th monkey is working its magic. In gatherings like this and interviews like what you're doing, into going back to spirit, to Mother Earth, all the many ways across the planet where we see people awakening. We're past that tipping point. But also our evolution as a species in the flying drum.
The wheel.
The wheel. This is part of the wheel. Every moment matters. Yeah. How your intentions, if we all were to pass now and go on to another world, we'd all still be conscious of what we had done to work with helping this world. Yeah. It matters, yes. Of course we want to see as much of humanity, all the animals, all the trees, make it to the next world. But no matter what, your karma with your own spirit and creator is what matters in that moment. Then you can do that with the others around you.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Last question I wanted to ask you is, what is the power of these kind of transformational festivals that, like here, Unify Fest? What is the power of these kind of gatherings?
The main part that I've seen since I've been here and the many other gatherings I've been to is remembering the heart, the love between the people, the remembering the original care and what's the most important thing in life. Yes, the creativity, the music, being in this environment, all the gifts everyone carries, but it's like remembering to look up and say, I know you. I've never met you before, but I know you. Really, because then we remember that we're part of the human race, and all the differences between ages and colors and cultures just kind of disappears. And like what we did this morning, the I am you, you are me, it's like you look into someone's eyes and you take a moment with your hand on their heart, and then all the rest of it just disappears. So I'd say that was the main thing that really happens here. So you walk away maybe tired, maybe some things were difficult, but you go, oh my God, I touched so many people's hearts. If you do that, then the rest fades away.
Yeah. We don't seem to ever remember the words of the wisdom that is shared sometimes. Even this interview, we may not remember the exact words, the topics we talked about, but we'll always remember how we felt,
Exactly.
Like here we are. I always remember what it was like to sit next to Michele and feel her energy, and so on and vice versa, and so on and so forth. And this, maybe even the day and the smells and the temperature, and you can always remember that. But gosh, I can't ever remember all the exact words. It's so funny how that works. Michele, where can people find you, and where can they find what you're doing and what you're up to?
So my website is www.journeytothefifthworld.com. I'm here in Santa Fe, but I've worked all over the planet at this point, and I am so willing to come and be part of other festivals and lead ceremony and unifying the people and to speak about this rainbow bridge.
Absolutely.
So My email is earthstar3@earthlink.net, and I really welcome being invited to go to different places and lands to help bring the people together.
Well, you have a very powerful gift to share with the world and to those around you, because you definitely leave people. You leave people remembering how they feel. So thank you, Michele. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure and deep gratitude.
Thanks. Also.